Welcome one, welcome all to episode 159 of the Xbox Expansion Pass, recorded on Saturday, January 7th, 2023. I am your host, Luke Lohr, joined now by my co-host, Captain Logun. And in this episode, we'll be discussing the latest updates on Redfall and Starfield. Hundreds of game developers have unionized at Microsoft's Zenimax, and Xbox is releasing a lackluster bundle here in early 2023. We hope you enjoy the episode. Logun, as always, I like to start off XEP by dropping words of kindness on the community. But to start off, I have to say thank you for joining me. I am so excited that you will be my co-host here in 2023.
Thank you for having me. It's nice to be on the show and to be a co-host. I think for my words of kindness, I want to thank you because I recently quit my Xbox show, and it was a bummer because it really did come down to I needed to be able to manage my time better, and running 2 solo shows a week it's really tough. So thank you for giving me another opportunity to get back into talking Xbox, because I really do love it. And I did not expect that DM when you hit me up. And I was more than excited to be able to say yes, to be able to help out with it. And I think we got some really cool ideas for this year.
Oh yeah, I'm stoked, absolutely, and I was excited to send that DM because, as we talked about prior to recording, I was kind of at my burnt out wits end phase because running a solo show is hard, and for 58 episodes, I was running that solo episode or solo show, arranging interviews, coordinating this. Production is not something that I have a skill set for. It's all self taught, which is, on the one hand, like, some of that stuff came out great. There was other stuff that was just tears and frustration and whatnot. And so I'm really excited we were able to combine. Now, it's important that we let our audience know who you are if they're unfamiliar. You said you still do run another show outside of it. I'm familiar with it. I enjoy it. But let the people know what your other project is.
Oh man. So I know, like, I've been making podcasts since 2018 at this point. And funny enough, the show that I started off with, the thing that kicked it off was Sea of Thieves kind of getting released. So if you guys don't know me, I've been in the Sea of Thieves game for Xbox since it was coming out. I've been making a solo show called the Keelhauled podcast. That is a Sea of Thieves focused podcast. And you may be thinking, Sea of Thieves has podcasts? They do. It's me and a couple other people out there, but I've been making content for Sea of Thieves for close to 5 years now, and it's my pride and joy. But everything that show is all stuff that, like yourself, Luke, dude, I had to figure it out. And thankfully, with the internet at our fingertips, we have so much resource available to us to be able to, like, figure this stuff out. So, and I had some really good friends that were in the game longer than I have been. So I was able to reach out to them, talk to them, share thoughts and ideas, and get suggestions and stuff. But yeah, Keelhauled's my baby, and I made the Xbox show that I was doing a while back, just to try and, like, dabble with talking general games, because I always wanted to have a voice in the conversation. I always wanted to be in the room where it happens. And come to find out, like, solo shows, there's a reason why a lot of podcasts have co-hosts, and it's because it's nice to have someone there to kind of, like, help you through the slow times, or when it's not quite as fun to be chatting about stuff. So that's what that's why I think I'm so happy to be able to jump into this, because it's going to be fun.
It's cool for me because I know what it's like to carry that solo show, and I enjoy doing that sometimes. But having somebody to riff off of, or to engage you in a way of conversation in a different direction than you might otherwise, that's really nice and comforting and fun and funny, and you get to meet with your friend every week, and that's what I'm stoked for. And equally stoked, I think, because in 2023 we've got a couple initiatives for XEP that we're starting up. First, this is a video podcast now. So for any listener that's on Spotify or iTunes or your platform of choice, we're also there on YouTube now in video form. That's something that you've really helped me a lot with, getting the show to be a visual piece as well. And so as I learn that and get B-roll on the side, or if it's just us there, people can kind of engage with us there, youtube.com/Xbox Expansion Pass. But it's there in audio form, video form. From here on out, Logan, the interviews that XEP specializes in at this point, this is episode 159 of XEP. There have been 90 plus developer interviews,
It's so
including
nuts.
it's wild. Yeah, it's wild. Seamus Blackley, the creator of Xbox. Ed Freeze was on that original team. He's been on the show. Mike Chapman from
Yeah.
Sea of Thieves fame. He's been on the show before, as have so many other developers. Just last week, published was the Xbox exclusive We Are the Caretakers. That just went live. At the time we're recording this, that game just came out exclusively on Xbox, and coming out kind of midweek from the time of this posting, will be an interview with the developer David Evans of Sailforth, which is a really fun sailing game that you and I got to play that's out now. And that's a video podcast as well, if anyone's interested in that. Those are going to be still on the same audio feed, Logan, but they will have their own playlist over on YouTube. So trying to continue the roots of XEP, because I enjoy interviewing so much with developers. I want that to stay as part of the audio feed. But anybody that just wants us will have their own place over on the YouTube as well. But trying to grow XEP in
Yeah.
2023 is the goal, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
And the interviews that you did, I was bummed that I didn't get to do the Sailforth interview. I was working at the time because
mhm.
I've been playing that game, and it's surprising how good the sailing mechanics are in that. And
Yeah.
they're simple enough and intuitive enough that you can kind of understand like how to do it if you're not like
Mhm.
familiar with sailing and stuff. But
Yeah.
they did a really good, like I want them. I wish this would have been a really cool thing. I really wish that they had like a deal with Nintendo to be able to make a Legend of Zelda Wind Waker 2,
Hmm.
because I think they've got like the basis for what I think a lot of us liked out of Wind Waker outside of like
Hmm.
the general Zelda stuff.
Sure.
But dude, can you imagine those guys if they got like a Zelda IP?
It's crazy because in talking to David and the people he worked with, having a Zelda IP would be right up their alley,
Mm-hmm.
because they just wanted to make a simple, fun game. This was a game he never planned to release. This was a
Oh, no
game
way.
that he never planned to release it. He's been working on it for 6 years. The first two, he was just trying to make a sailing thing that his dad would enjoy because he likes
Yeah,
sailing with his dad.
that's
And
funny.
he loves Sea of Thieves. The water mechanics were cool inspiration there, but like it was a neat just side project that eventually he's like, I should release this. It was a roguelike at one point,
Oh,
a
weird.
survival game at one point, and now it's just this cute, fun sailing game. I really dig the combat in it as well.
Yeah.
It's just this cool $20 indie title. I ask a lot of developers this question. Sometimes it makes it into the show, sometimes it's more appropriate to ask after. Um, but I asked about the possibilities of Game Pass because I think the Xbox audience would really dig it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and no word on Game Pass for
Yeah.
Sale Forth, but it's $20. It's on every platform. So if we have any multi-platform listeners, if you go listen to the interview for Sale Forth and it's like up your alley, I recommend it. It's a fun, chill game, and I like chill games right now.
Yeah. Yeah. The sailing feels like like it feels a little bit of a mix between Sea of Thieves and Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Yeah,
Like it pulls a lot of that kind of similar style from there, and it was fun. I had a really good time. I got a good fleet going when I was
good,
running around.
dope. Dope. Very cool. Because it's video form, my dog will make her way into the shots
Ooh,
from time to time. That's fun. I always think that's a good time when she shows up. But she's hanging out with me upstairs
what's your
today.
dog's name?
Shelby. Shelby.
Shelby.
She is
Oh,
14, an Australian Shepherd, and we're in the phase where like I have to carry her up the stairs and
oh.
whatnot. But she is my pride and joy. She's obnoxious. She's going deaf, and I love her to death. So
So she learned everything from you. That's
she
good. I
did.
understand.
Yes, yes. Logan, before we talk games, because we've got some dope topics, we've got to talk Redfall
I
details, which have
know.
more some stuff has come out that actually flipped my excitement levels, which is cool.
Really?
Yep,
Ooh.
yep. Starfield stuff is on the docket. Unionization, which surprisingly is kind of interesting and cool in this one, and there's the Xbox bundle we talked about. But in 2023, I am hoping to start an initiative. XEP is starting an initiative and I'm hoping it makes its way into other gaming communities and kind of grows beyond XEP in the best way. We're doing something called Operation Find the Fun, and it's a hashtag Find the Fun that I would like to put out there. And in all games that we cover on XEP this year, I want us to make a conscious effort to find the fun in the game
Yeah.
versus finding reasons to dislike it, to nitpick it. And I'd love for all of our listeners to join me in that. I recently finished God of War Ragnarok prior to the end of 2022. God of War Ragnarok is a masterpiece game, but I
Yeah.
found my. Have you played it as well?
Oh my God, it's great. It's so good. I
It's
haven't. I want to go back to it and like finish up the stuff post the ending. But dude, that game is so good. Oh.
It is so good, but I found myself because it's 90 plus Metacritic, PlayStation exclusive, the best of the
Mm-hmm.
best, game of the year contender. I found myself not looking for the fun in the game, but trying to find flaws.
Mm.
Whereas when I played Gotham Knights, knowing it was a flawed game, Sonic
Yeah.
Frontiers, knowing it's a flawed game, playing all the games that are sixes and sevens that I think I'm known for enjoying, when
Yeah.
I go into those sixes and sevens, I look for the fun in it. I want to enjoy my time. Whereas when I hear about a game being 90 plus Metacritic, I start looking for flaws. And I want to make an effort not to do that this year. I want to make an effort where if we talk about it on XEP, we acknowledge and we're critical where we need to be because that's important. But we look for the fun in games. And so Operation Find the Fun, hashtag Find the Fun, that's something that I'm going to be making a conscious effort to do, and I'm hoping that our listeners will join me in. I want to call out actually a few listeners that have really just stuck with XEP and helped me look for fun, and people like Clint Combs and Todd Oxtra, mostly Martinez, Golden Gamer Graham. They do this on their own accord. They're always looking for the positive elements of this of gaming, and I want to follow that example and make that an initiative of XEP. And I'm hoping that you and others will join me in that.
Oh, dude. Yeah. That's like every time I play a game, I can see the critical aspects of it, but it's one of those things like at the end of the day, like I'm the type that's gonna go in and expect to enjoy it. And everyone kind of finds their own way to like enjoy a game. A lot of people like they'll go like super hard mode. That's their test of their metal, like I just want to go in and have fun. So if I'm going to be playing it on normal or easy, or just looking for a game that I think like Anthem is like a perfect
Yeah.
example of this, right? Like
Mhm.
Anthem is a fun game. It's not a
Yep.
good game, but it is a fun game, and it's a real bummer that they never took it beyond what it was,
Mhm.
because I think that they had so many troubles going into it. So every time I go back to Anthem, I'm like, man, I love that javelin. It's so
Mhm.
much fun to just fly around in that world. Same thing with Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk was a terrible launch, but you know what? That was a fun game,
Mhm.
and they had a lot of issues, and they've stuck with it, which is a nice thing. And I think they've gotten it to a good game. But
Mhm.
definitely, like a lot of people were looking at the flaws of the game as opposed to the fun of the game. And if you just played the game and actually had fun with it instead of
Yep.
like criticizing it all the time, you
Mhm.
would have come out with the same kind of perspective that I think most of us did when we jumped into it, which was it's a fun game, and it's not hard to find that fun. You just have to be open to it.
Agreed. I fully agree, and I lament all the times. Like I my God of War Ragnarok experience was spoiled because I forgot to look for the fun. I love
Mm,
Anthem. I enjoyed playing Crackdown. I liked playing Avengers a lot. Like I went
yeah.
into certain games looking to enjoy myself and other games looking to be critical. And I really don't want to do that because life's too short and there's too many amazing projects that developers work on that I want to change my attitude about how I approach stuff. So absolutely I plan on being critical of games that we discuss for review. We've got a lot of games coming out. I know if you look at our doc, I have release dates for the foreseeable future down there. There's a lot of games that are coming out, and we're going to need to be critical of those. But I will, in being critical, also acknowledge just the stuff that makes me fun and focus more on that element for sure. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Games are here for enjoyment, man. Like if
Mhm.
we can't have fun with it, what are we doing?
Agreed. Absolutely. And I'm going to take this attitude with me into to 2023, and listeners, other content creators, hashtag find the fun, Operation Find the Fun. That is my jam. That is something I'm doing, and I would love for people to enjoy joining me on that journey. That's tough to say. That's how it goes. Well, Logan, let's get into our topics at this point. My mind was blown this week as I found myself getting excited for Redfall. I was not
Good.
excited for Redfall
Oh,
when I first saw it. Maybe it's that same thing, forgetting to look for the fun, but I saw a vampire shooter game that looked like Left 4 Dead, and I love Left 4 Dead, but
yeah.
there have been a lot of games kind of in that style in the
Yeah.
last few years, and I enjoyed Aliens Fire Team and the Anacrusis and a few others, but it didn't click, right? It's not where I'm at.
Yeah.
Um, but we saw a lot of stuff coming out this past week. Windows Central reported, and it was corroborated by others, that Redfall is targeting a May release this year, which the timelines
I
line up
know.
with previous statements. That's sooner than I expected, which is
I'm
cool.
I'm glad, dude, because you remember when they were like, "Hey, this will be out in July of 2022," and I'm like, "There's no way this is coming out in
Yeah.
July 2022. We don't even know what this game is."
Mm-mm. And I'm
But
glad it was delayed because Xbox needs to hit, and it needs to hit big uh,
yeah,
with its exclusives. And I'm seeing gameplay of this, and I'm in. I'm hearing, and we're seeing reports that id Software has been helping with the gunplay.
I
But
know.
that's,
Oh,
oh god, the clips that I'm seeing, this game looks very different than what I thought it was going to be in terms of gameplay. There are NPCs that you talk to, get side quests. There's story driven missions that you can play single player. There's an open world that's way bigger than Prey, which is another one of Arcane's titles. They've hired FPS specialists. They have got this game in a direction that I think it's going to be far more than what I thought it was going to be, and I'm in
yeah.
playing DMZ with great gunplay and objectives and missions with your buddies, where you can do it single player, you can play it multiplayer. Something about Redfall has changed in my mind, and man, I'm really excited. Where are you at for Redfall?
Dude, I've been looking forward to this game for a while. Like when they
Really? Okay.
started, like they started to kind of talk about like the different people that you can play as,
Hmm.
and like I started looking into the actual characters and what their history is and what the lore is that's set up around this, and the fact that they've kind of talked about like this is like an all like a Resident Evil experiment that's come to Massachusetts and stuff, and now you've got like operatives that are coming in and the special agents that were trying to get away from this kind of thing getting dragged into it, and then like students who have magical powers now and stuff. And I was just like, dude,
Hmm.
this sounds like a fun freaking thing. Like they've just gone all out with the weird and they know it. I fully anticipated this being like a Left 4 Dead. Like I was fully kind of like, all right, well, you can play it solo or you can play it with friends, but it's going to be kind of like Prey. It's going to be kind of like Death Loop, you know, and kind of go in with that kind of mental expectations. And to
Hmm.
see that they were going to do this more like an open world game with hubs that you can go and get quests for and stuff. It's
Yeah.
like, dude, that sounds like fun. Cause I think some of the best experiences I've had is where I've been playing co-op in open world games where, you know, we get a bunch of stuff, we go out, we work on those quests, we clear out camps, and then when we're done, we go back, we level up, we you know get new ability points or we get better gear.
Hmm.
Doing that kind of stuff is it's perfect for hanging out with your friends. You know, it's what I
Yes.
love about Sea of Thieves. Like, you know, Sea of Thieves, you go, you do a bunch of voyages, you get into little messy fights here and there, and the whole thing is kind of set up to just hang out with your friends and chat and
Hmm.
catch up on their day. And you know you're there kind of playing through a story and stuff like that. But I'm so glad that Redfall is coming along. I think Redfall is like one of the biggest games that I'm excited for as far as like multiplayer games this year, because
Hmm.
I'm looking forward to actually getting in and jumping in, seeing like just what Arcane's version of like a vampire killer game or like a zombie
Hmm.
kind of style game is, compared to like what I've played through with like Prey and Deathloop, because I think they've got a really cool world that they've built up, and I think that's the most important thing for me, is just kind of seeing like where the story goes and stuff like that and getting to experience that with friends.
I'm hoping that I get into a kick where I want to play arcane games. They're a gaming gap for me. I've really
Yeah,
not Prey, I think it's Dishonored. Yeah, Dishonored,
yeah,
Prey, Dishonored. I just didn't. It didn't go anywhere for me. I never wanted to play them. I would rent them, or if I worked at GameStop, take them home to never they're on Game Pass and still don't feel the need or want to. I'm hoping that as Redfall gets closer, I do what I did with Sonic Frontiers, where I played one and I was like, you know what, I got to go play everything.
Yeah.
Just getting that kick, because I know they're a great developer. I know they're talented. They've done some incredible stuff, but I just haven't wanted to.
Yeah.
But the more I see here, the more I'm like, you know what, I do want to try this one out. And quite separately, I think I feel the same for Starfield, which I was not excited for Starfield. I think sometimes Todd
Uh,
Howard is over spotlighted and over emphasized in some ways, and I was like, he's just making a game,
yeah.
and I was never into Skyrim, and Bethesda games have this reputation for being buggy, and again, maybe it's the new attitude of find the fun, maybe it's the stuff I'm seeing. I really think when I saw them delay after their like set release date, when I saw them willing to delay and get it right, something about that reassured me. And as we approach it, I'm more excited, and reports are coming out that the game is still coming out in the first half of 2023. A support page, an official support page, came out with that wording in general, saying
Yeah.
it's still first half of 2023. Which, all things considered, Logan, when you look at Redfall and Starfield first half of 2023, what we believe to be Forza stuff, which is going to kind of be tied to another news topic. We think
Yeah.
some Forza stuff is coming. The possibility of Hellblade 2 being this year. We know Forza Motorsport 8 is this year. Almost accidentally, I find myself kind of like smacked in the face by just how much Xbox might have in 2023 after one of the driest years they've ever had in 2022, where it was only
Yeah.
expansions to previous stuff. So I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. It's kind of weird, dude. I feel like certain studios have to have like that one game that gets you into their good, right? Like for
Mm-hmm.
many people, for Bethesda, it was Skyrim. Like
Mm-hmm.
Skyrim was the game that got them hooked on, or it was like Fallout 4 or
Mm-hmm.
Fallout 3, mostly Fallout 3 or like New Vegas that got them like into Bethesda games. And
Mm-hmm.
I
And if you're
haven't
100
found that
years old,
because
Morrowind, you think about
yeah.
Ainsley Bowden, he's 108, like Morrowind, you
So
know?
old. Oh
Yeah.
my god, that dude. Uh yeah, and I feel like there's a game that will come out that will be that game for Bethesda for me, and I feel like Starfield has that best chance cuz like as a fan of like Mass Effect, as a fan of like StarCraft, as a fan of like Star Wars and Star Trek and stuff, like there's so many like sci-fi games that I love to jump into that for some reason, something about like going around in spaceships to different planets, that's what hits for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Starfield is like right there, and it's crazy to think because I feel like so many of us are still kind of on the fence with Starfield as far as if you're not like a dyed in the wool kind of Bethesda fan, if you don't follow the creed of Todd Howard, then you're kind of like, well, how good is this really going to be? And it's crazy to think that this was something that was supposed to come out on November 11th of last year.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And to think that it's coming out in the first half of this year feels like that and I want to say it was because of Halo. And I want to blame Halo for this because Halo delayed for an entire year
Mm-hmm.
when they delayed it.
Missed a
So
console launch,
yeah.
you
And
know?
so it makes me wonder, like, is it because Halo Infinite that was supposed to come out at launch didn't come out till a year later, that's why it feels weird to have Starfield still coming like 6 months down the line from when it initially was going to get launched.
Mm-hmm. I
But I'm
don't
I'm I'm looking forward to it.
I don't know. I don't know. It could be that. I think it's just that Starfield has been this nebulous idea. This is the Xbox exclusive. The reason they bought Bethesda, because
Yeah.
Redfall, not the reason they bought Bethesda. To the common. This is Skyrim's successor. That's a big deal
Yeah.
versus like an Arcane project, which is still amazing, but it's not. It doesn't have the same weight amongst the standard
No.
gamer. this is the game that's supposed to compete with PlayStation, that's supposed to be the one, because Halo Infinite didn't do that despite doing that. Like the narrative isn't
Mm-hmm.
that it did that, but Infinite is very successful and has a lot of amazing things, lackluster in some areas, and it didn't capture the mind share, but it's still quietly extremely successful. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how this compares to what other people are going to be um like I really want to know what people's expectations are for Starfield based on like the pedigree of Bethesda games, and see like, will this actually stand up? Because from what I've seen, this looks like a No Man's Sky that has a budget, and that
mhm,
excites me because I think No Man's Sky has proven that space exploration and people jumping into that kind of a world
mhm,
is wanted, is desired. And I think Starfield has the opportunity to tell some really cool stories that are going to be completely new to everyone. And the fact that this is like their first new IP in like decades is nuts. And
mhm.
that's also super, because they got to be passionate about that, man. Like
Yeah.
starting off something new and being like, all right, we're done with all the old. We're not going to bother with Elden Ring. We're not going to, or Elden Ring. We're not going to bother with Elder Scrolls. We're not going to
Mhm,
bother with Fallout. Let's do something new. Let's do something
mhm,
exciting. And that's cool. It's kind of like the fear and trepidation of seeing like if 343 was like, all right, let's put a hold on Halo. Let's go find something fun to go make and see what
mhm,
they come up with and see like how is that gonna compare? How is that gonna hold up against the stuff that they've made? Or if
mhm,
Bungie went and decided they wanted to make a new project that wasn't Destiny 2. It's like,
mhm.
ooh, I don't know. That's kind of scary, but I'm sure they're probably excited about it.
Yep. When I think about Metal Gear Solid, The Witcher 3, Elden Ring, God of War 2018, those are tentpole moments in gaming. Elder Scrolls as well, Skyrim. It feels to me like Starfield has the potential to be that, and I sincerely hope that these delays that we've seen with it, because it's been delayed more than once, have been
Mm-hmm.
about QA and bug fixing, because I really want this game to be a game where people are clipping the good and not zooming in on the bad. Think back to the silliness of questioning the fruit physics of Halo Infinite,
Oh my god.
right? And then you play God of War Ragnarok, where there's tons of stuff you can't do physically, but no one talks about it because everything
Yeah.
else is immaculate. There's no bugs and so I sincerely hope that it's been about breaking the trend of, oh, that's just Bethesda and it's endearing and charming. No, if you go play Elden Ring, that game, I'm sure you get bugs in anything, but like that game is near immaculate in terms of its uh, gameplay experience. It doesn't onboard players well, but it's got so many amazing things. No one's clipping out the bugs of Elden Ring. They're clipping out the gameplay, what you're doing in the world, what you're accomplishing. I hope that the time put into Starfield is going to allow for that same thing, because I don't want the narrative of Starfield to be, oh, but it's a Bethesda title. I hope it breaks that mold.
I think it's a double-edged sword, man. Like the reason why I think Elden Ring hits so well is partly because it's FromSoft and people trust FromSoft to be good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's it could work for them. It could work against them. If it's a bad game, then people are going to be like the reputation's going to get stained a little. There's going to be a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of people going like, okay, well, this wasn't a big hit. Like, what's the next one going to be like? Same thing with what was it, CD Project Red, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
everyone going
Yeah.
into Cyberpunk was like, oh, this is going to be amazing. Witcher 3 was fantastic. The expansions were amazing and stuff like that. And I think Bethesda's right there with them. Like I think people are going to kind of go in knowing like, okay, this is Bethesda. They've had tons of time to work on this and tons of money to work on this.
Mm-hmm.
B, we know the pedigree, we know the storytelling possibilities that they have for this game. So like, is that going to hold up? I think a lot of people are going to do both. I think a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people are going to fall in love with Starfield the way they fell in love with Skyrim, the way they fall in love with Fallout series and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I like going into this is I don't have to have a history with Bethesda to be able to understand this game world. Like
Mhm.
there's no franchise behind this. So for a lot of people, I think this is going to be a fresh experience with Bethesda. And I think that is something that will really kind of help a lot of folks get past some of the stuff that may be a technical issue. But
Mhm.
even that, like I think they know that this game has to be a big hit. They wouldn't have delayed it if they felt otherwise. I think you're right that Xbox was buying Bethesda for this game, which means that they were willing to spend a lot of money
Mhm.
on this being a hit. And I
Mhm.
don't think you do that if you I don't think you buy Bethesda because you think they're going to flop. I think you buy
Right.
Bethesda because you trust the pedigree and you see what they're putting out,
Mhm.
and you want that for your kind of like marquee title for a year,
Right.
you know.
Yeah. No, that's a very good point. I'm curious if we see spin-offs or expansions. Like Elder Scrolls is not just Elder Scrolls Skyrim. You know, there's a franchise there, and there's multiplayer experiences across multiple platforms. Last of Us is getting a multiplayer expansion. Uh, Ghost of Tsushima had a multiplayer element. I wonder if Starfield doesn't find ways into other mediums, platforms, films. Like there's a Last of Us show, a Halo show. I wonder if Starfield hits and hits well if it transcends gaming and goes beyond it. Um, I would expect it does, and I think that's why Microsoft wants to get this right. It's one of the many reasons why they need to get it right. But I would expect that we see Starfield in other avenues down the line. Um, that's
Yeah,
just
that'd be
it's
cool.
a yeah, it's a gut instinct on that one. So
Yeah, I could
uh,
see it. I
could
think
it?
you could easily make like a Star Trek version of Starfield.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Directed by Zack Snyder, of course. I'm just giving you a hard time. All right, so let's move into our another one. This news item came from Axios, but it's of course made its rounds into other places. This to me is a really good news, good vibe, good feel type approach. But I wonder if maybe you don't check me just a bit. Hundreds of game developers at the Microsoft-owned Zenimax Studios have officially voted to unionize, and Microsoft has supported this endeavor. The union is going to have roughly 300 game testers out of Zenimax studios in Maryland and Texas, including id Software. Of course, they make Doom. You've got Arcane and Bethesda, obviously Redfall, Starfield, some of our conversations in a moment ago. It was a supermajority that voted this into action. According to the organizers at the Communication Workers of America, no idea what that is. I'm not going to pretend to, which will encompass the new Zenimax Workers Union. Microsoft has voluntarily offered support to this union. It would make sense, of course, as they try to impress regulators from the FTC, European Union, et cetera, that they are going to be good stewards of both franchises and workers. Uh, I would argue that unionization in gaming is a good thing, given how we've seen a lot of game testers, QA specifically, been treated, how we've seen the boys' clubs exist amongst developers. And I think the asterisk to all of this, Logan, is if you create a humble and accepting and worker friendly environment, then talent wants to come and work with you, thus passing on better experiences to the gamers. Maybe that's a little bit too uh, flowery and happy. Maybe I'm in error there, but I saw this as a good thing for long and short term. Where would you land on it?
Unions are a weird thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unions are genuinely built when the company fails at what they should be doing, which is taking care of the employees. If you feel like you're unionizing, it's because you don't feel like you have a voice, or you feel like you want to get something from a company that is unyielding
Mm-hmm.
in this situation. And that's always been like where my mind has been with unions. Like it's the reason why you want to have unions, is to have a voice when a company is not willing to hear you.
Mm-hmm.
So genuinely, like when I think of unions, I think it's because what they want is not what they're getting, and the company doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
So I always have kind of like that's a shame that they had to unionize. But at the same time, I also know that unions that are accepted by companies are usually the thing that really kind of indicates that they're they're willing to understand that they're going to, like, the alternative is, like, instead of them unionizing, they all get fired, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if Zenimax is and Bethesda and them, if they're willing to work with the unions, then I'm hoping that what the union looks for, which is genuinely they want to have a better work environment. They either want more pay because they're not getting paid enough, which from what I understand is genuinely the truth. Most game testers generally do not get paid nearly as much as developers, UI consultants, producers, executive producers, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're looking at these game testers, like, they're the lowest of the low when it comes to the totem pole in most studios' minds.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, them unionizing is going to be a huge boon to the industry, because it's going to show that there is solidarity in the need to have better work environments or better pay or better benefits and things like that. And it's something that I hope happens with streamers and content creators. I hope that Twitch streamers are able to look at trying to find a union or create a union, because I think Twitch streamers are definitely one of those groups that is being taken advantage of. And I think
Mm-hmm.
seeing it happen in studios first is always a positive, because it shows that the need is there. And if the need is there, then that means that the environment will change and that the
Right.
paradigm will shift. And it's like, do teachers unionize at all?
So that's a great question. For any listener that doesn't know, I am a teacher. In some states, typically north of the Mason-Dixon line, yes. Where I am, no. And again, unions can be a complicated subject for some. Uh, there are times where I've genuinely just wished and begged that it would happen because conditions are awful and we're very stressed and underpaid and
Yeah.
overworked and class
Yeah.
sizes. Counterpoint is that there are people that remain in the profession too long and places don't vacate. But in short, it's something that I think empowers the workers, thus empowering talent.
Yeah. I think if there's a union that is getting made and a company is supporting that union, it means that everything for the person who didn't care but is joining the union because they have to are going to reap the benefits. And anyone coming into that company as a game tester that will be asked, like, do you want this job? You have to join a union. Most of the times I've ever been in a company where I've joined a union, I've reaped benefits that I never had to fight for.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes on for generations at that point, because the union will always kind of be instilled there. And it's very, and that's one of the nice things about unions, is that they can get you things that you wouldn't be able to get from day one of starting. And you may never have to go through the pains of having to strike, having to deal with corporates who are trying to leverage everything they possibly can because they have the resources and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy for unions when it will get what people want to better their lives, and hope that unions don't do what most unions have a chance of becoming, which is kind of like their own powerhouse, in which point they
Right.
start dictating their own demands and start going a little too power hungry with this kind of thing. So, but most of the time when they first start out, it's usually a lot of people just wanting to get better environments. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
glad that Zenimax and them are accepting the unions. I think it's great that the studios, the game testers, are able to do this, because at the end of the day, better game testing, happier employees is usually what you want to make a good game, or any company, right? you
Agreed.
want happy employees.
And I want the base pays to go up and the bonuses to go away, because the way bonuses work, they don't typically empower uh,
No.
developers. Like, they're after the fact, if this hits this mark, and it's too subjective, and so I
Yeah.
it's not practical. So all right,
Yeah.
let's move on from that one, and here's hoping that uh, more talent is incentivized to join Microsoft or Sony or anyone else that supports this for sure. Logan, this one is funny because we might be overreading into it. We might not. An Xbox Series X bundle is available and going to be made available, including Forza Horizon 5, the premium edition of it, which would include all DLCs. This Forza Horizon bundle is a Series X with the game and a controller and all the DLCs, and it's retailing for $560 US. That doesn't sound like a lot of savings to me, except for the DLCs. And
Yeah.
I I was really disappointed by this one. I would have loved to see the game just included for free with the DLCs to incentivize people into coming into the platform. Quick point of an interest here. This is the game proper. You would own this game as opposed to like getting to use and play it via Game Pass. This is the console and the price of the game, and it seems like you're getting the free DLCs. I don't find that to be very incentivizing to get people into a platform that they were on the fence about. The curious point is, does Forza have something coming that's going to really excite people? It's been a while since we saw Hot Wheels. We're due for that expansion. We're due for an Xbox showcase of some sorts. This bundle is launching, I think, next week. And does that timing line up, or are we, grasping at straws and organizing our little dotted lines and, oh no, this is happening and this is going to happen? Either way, I thought the
Are you
bundle
trying
was
to
pretty
suggest?
lackluster.
Are you trying to suggest there's an event possibly coming soon? Is that what you're trying to imply?
I don't know that I'm suggesting it, but there are plenty of people who are,
Right.
because of this bundle and the timelines. And like, I don't know if it is or not. I think the bundle's pretty weak, all things considered. It's a great game. Love the game.
Yeah.
But like, what do you? I don't know. Tell me, reel me in.
Okay. So when Forza 5 came out, there was a deal on Game Pass that if you bought the expansions and the season passes for it for like $40, you'd get early access. And I wanted early access because I wanted to jump into this game. And I actually got hit up the other day because I made the Keelhauled logo in Forza 5. Someone hit
Cool.
me up the other day and they're like, "Hey, dude, I just saw your liveries in Forza 5." I was like, "Dang, it's been a hot minute since I've been in that content for a while. It's crazy." But I mean the deal here is you're getting like $40 worth of DLC for free. I probably, if it was me, and this is it's a weird interesting thing because you would expect that Xbox that they would be pushing their all access content, because the all access has kind of been the I don't want to say black sheep, but dude, it feels like not a lot of people are jumping on all access because that's the better deal than if you just buy the console or if you buy a bundle, because you're getting 2 years of Game Pass for the price of it's less than the price of what Game Pass and the console for 2 years would cost outright. Like, you're getting a pretty good deal on Game Pass, and that
Let's pause.
Forza.
Pin real quick.
Yeah,
I'm not sure everybody knows what Xbox All Access is.
I know. It makes me sad.
Tell the listeners what
Okay.
it is, because your point is well taken, but I don't think many people even know what it is.
Yeah. So, okay. So if you don't know, All Access is a program that you can do at most retailers. The way that All Access works is you're going in. It's kind of like a phone contract. Like we used to have the old phone contract, but for 2 years, you spend $25 a month and you get an Xbox Series X as well as Game Pass Ultimate for that whole time. And if you do the math, which I can't remember it off the top of my head, and I'm not going to try and mess with numbers while we're chatting here, but if you do the math, you're effectively getting, and actually, sorry, let me correct myself. It's $35 for the Xbox Series X. It's $25 for the Series S. But you go in. There's no APR. There's no interest rate. There's no additional cost. But for that $35 a month, which if you figure is only $20 more than what most people would spend base on Game Pass Ultimate alone, you're getting a brand new console. And for 2 years, you spend that, which, by the way, helps credit. If you have a credit card and you want to be able to build your credit, this is a fantastic way, because $35 is a lot cheaper than most stuff that you can put on a credit card. But you get an Xbox Series X and you get 2 years of Game Pass Ultimate. And that's kind of been like, I feel like that's the thing that it's always ignored. And I can understand if you're going for like a Series S, then yes, find a Series S for like $200 on Black Friday. And that is a fantastic deal. That will save you probably more than what the all access version of the Xbox Series S and X will be. But I feel like a lot of people don't take advantage of the all access. I didn't, because I wanted it day one and they didn't offer it day one. You had to
Right.
pre-order the console and just get that.
Hmm.
But yeah, having a bundle for Xbox kind of says to me that most people are buying the console and not going through all access. And it
Hmm.
makes me wonder if that's because like just marketing, or people just don't want to do all access and people would rather just buy it once, get it like day one, spend the money and then go from there. The bundle itself, yeah, you're only getting about $40 worth of deal on this. But if you're a Forza fan, then this will be a good way to kind of kickstart you into the new year and give you a reason to be excited for motorsport, which supposedly still coming out later this year.
Hmm.
So it's kind of a nice way to be like, hey, if you're interested in motorsport because you're a huge racing sim fan, then here's a good way to get an Xbox Series X to get into Forza so you can play around. Plus, you get all the DLC so you can actually jump into the Hot Wheels content. And that content was July of last year. So
Hmm.
it's been and that was so uh what was it? Forza 5 came out top of November 2021.
Hmm.
The next update came in July of 2022. I would not be surprised if January or February was when they rolled out the next update for Forza 5. And if that's the case, then that's going to be a really nice lead in to motorsport when that comes out. And that
Hmm.
way, there's kind of like this continuous roll of content for racing fans.
I think the bundle offers very little in the way of value overall. I think that's what people want to feel when they get a bundle if they're
Yeah.
not in already. But your logic makes good sense, especially when it comes to Forza. There would be a wonderful sentimentality if you look at the slate of upcoming games and you have a Forza Horizon expansion early in 2023, Redfall and Starfield kind of late Q1 and mid Q2. Of 2023, and then you've got a big, like a third big thing for Xbox in late 2023. I think that would be fantastic. Somewhere in there, theoretically, the Activision deal goes through, and what you have are the makings for an incredible year for Microsoft after a pretty lackluster one. And by the way, if last year was lackluster, that's pretty great year. We had a
Yeah.
couple people write in, kind of asking. I think it was Famous Seamus writing in how I would describe gaming in 2022, 3 words or less. Fantastic, amazing, and expansions, because I really had a ton of fun with a lot of games that were multi-platform. My game of the year was Elden Ring, multi-platform. Played it on my Xbox. It looked amazing on Series X, and some great expansion content came to Xbox proper. Sea of Thieves, Forza Horizon, and then some pretty good stuff came to Halo by the end of the year. Um,
Oh
I
yeah.
think if last year was a bad year for Xbox, and I think it was, that's a pretty good year because they've
Yeah.
got some good stuff on the way. The Age of Empires console definitive edition is coming. Uh, Diablo is on its way, and that theoretically could be a Microsoft thing. You got your two big stuff that we talked about earlier. I mean, 2023 is looking pretty good, all
Yeah,
things considered.
yeah. 2023 is going to be a really fun year for just about everyone. Like it's
Mhm.
going to be hard for someone going into 2023 for Xbox and not be able to find something that can kind of spark their interest, especially given just like how many games are releasing. And it's a shame that a lot of this stuff wasn't quite finished in time for 2022. I think
Mhm.
obviously like Phil Spencer wanted to have, one major first party title coming out at least every year.
Mhm.
And the reality of it is that, you want to put out a good you want to put out a good game from the get go.
Mhm.
And you want something that people are going to look forward to. But I would much rather wait for a game knowing that they are still kind of putting tweaks in and that they're still not happy with it,
Mhm.
than have them try and hit an arbitrary, like, oh, we want to try and have this and this and this for
Right.
each year. And it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, that'd be cool. It definitely kind of feels like Wii U territory as far as
Mhm.
like when we were waiting for content and stuff. But like the difference being that Xbox still gets all of the third party content. So
Yeah.
yeah, like, if last year wasn't the best year for first party, like, dude, you still had a ton of really good third party
Mhm.
content come out last year.
Oh
And
yeah.
there's no reason why anyone should have been like, hurting for games. And
Right.
and if that's the case, it's okay to say like, all right, I'm not playing much on my Xbox except for the stuff that I typically jump into.
Mhm.
So I'll go play on something else for a little bit
Sure.
and be okay with that.
Yeah. I think there's a tendency, particularly amongst content creators, to lament the lack of or the amazing first party here and there. But on the publishing side, the day one Game Pass side, there are a lot of experiences that my Xbox afforded me that saved me money thanks to day one in Game Pass,
Right?
or that exposed me to new games by way of indies or even AAA that I wouldn't have played otherwise. That's a great thing, and I think sometimes that gets overlooked in our content creation community. And if we really are trying to find the fun, then I look back and I'm like, yo, I had a
Yeah.
great year of games, all while acknowledging, yeah, not a lot of first party newness. But man, when I think about Sea of Thieves, and of course I know my co-host audience here, like I get that, but like I had so much fun in Sea of Thieves, and I haven't touched season 8. Like, you know what I mean? Like I
Mm-hmm.
have so much fun in Halo, knowing full well they need more. I still had a blast, and that third party stuff is there. And we had a couple questions that kind of wrote in this realm that I want to touch on. The first one comes from Todd Oxtra, who's consistently amazing. He says, "Does Xbox have a defining franchise now, or are Xbox's games overshadowed by Game Pass?" Like it, I think Halo, and he even mentions Halo in a supplementary statement, but like Halo is Xbox. I don't. I, I don't know. Is Game Pass the thing now? Are we talking about Game Pass when we talk about Xbox games, or are we talking about the game?
I think Todd has a real strong point here, because I do think that there hasn't been like a marquee title that is like a system seller, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Right.
we were just talking about the bundle for Forza 5. Neither of us feel like that was like the thing that sells Xbox, right? The thing that sells Xbox is Game Pass. If you talk about PlayStation, what's the game that people always like are going to and saying like, okay, well, if you're buying an Xbox, you get Spider-Man. You just
Right.
get Spider-Man, right?
Right.
Or you get God of War. Those are the system sellers for that console. For Nintendo, same thing. If you're
Right.
buying Nintendo, you're getting Animal Crossing. You're getting Breath of the Wild. You're getting Mario Kart. Xbox doesn't really have that, because Xbox isn't trying to do that, because they've said, hey, everything that you could possibly want from our company is all going to be on Game Pass. So not just one title is going to be the have to get with Xbox. It's like, no, just get everything with
Mm-hmm.
Game Pass. Why
And
pick
Game
and
Pass.
choose?
I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No,
What
you're
was it?
good. How
Game
dare
Pass
you?
isn't just on the box.
Yeah.
Game Pass is on, like, I just got a Backbone, which I'm stoked to share impressions with. I'll talk more about it next week. But I'm playing Xbox on my phone, which is something we could do via cloud, right?
Yeah.
I'm playing Xbox when I'm on my PC. I'm playing Xbox in so many ways, but I'm not always playing on the box. And I think, again, it's a mentality shift. It's not like Mario. It's not like God of War or Spider-Man. It is different. Whether or not that's a good thing or not, I think is debatable. But let's not forget that if Xbox lost in 2022, they were hugely profitable. The revenue was up. People were playing. People were buying, and there were no new exclusives to buy, and they were still getting in. And I can't tell you the number of people that came up to me over the holidays that are not gamers that are like, "Hey, we got an Xbox. We got Game Pass.
Yeah.
Dope, cool,
Yeah.
awesome." Like that's the fun part, I think for me. But Todd might be onto something. Halo I think will always be Xbox, um,
Yeah.
but
It's
that's okay.
as far as a franchise goes, like there's definitely like I think Forza is definitely the strongest when it comes to the content and the quality of it. I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people had their issues with Halo multiplayer and the cadence. I think that
Mm-hmm.
was and it kills me, dude, because I actually really love Halo Infinite. I think Halo
Mm-hmm.
Infinite is one of the
Yeah.
best stories I've gotten from Halo. And I went through all of the Halos recently, like
Mm-hmm.
from one to Infinite. I went through all of
Yeah.
them. Many of them stood up to the test of time. Many of them didn't in my mind, and I think I've got some spicy takes on which ones I don't like and which ones I do like. But
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, I think Halo is still a really good game. I think the multiplayer of it is the thing that drives the conversation around it, though. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I still feel like Sea of Thieves is a tentpole, but it's a one off as far as IP goes, so it's hard to call it a franchise.
It's
And we're
definitely the most successul. No,
oh
maybe
yeah,
not. I was gonna say it's probably the most successful from Xbox One generation, but then I was like, Forza Horizon, that's 360. You know,
yeah.
yeah, that's a
Four
tough way to put it.
Yeah, 4 didn't hit quite as well as I think they wanted it to. I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people were kind of like, it's too dreary in London.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but yeah, like Sea of Thieves really did kind of kick off, and I think they've done a really good job of helping offer something. Like the number of people I see jumping into Sea of Thieves through Game Pass is fantastic because I think that's what Game Pass does. And I
Mm-hmm.
think Game Pass, like, was it nobody nobody thought High on Life was going to be as good as it is,
Right.
and because it was on Game Pass, so many people were just like, I'll give it a shot. And then they're like, oh my God, this is great. This is a
Right.
fantastic game.
Yeah. That's the power of Game Pass,
Yeah.
of being able to log in from anywhere, play on any device, that kind of stuff. But
Can,
yeah, you're right.
can you imagine if you bought a PlayStation and you had like $70 to spend and everyone was telling you, oh, get Elden Ring, Elden Ring's game of the year and stuff like that. And you've never played a FromSoft game. You never knew how hard it would be. You know, have never had a concept of what that game plays like. And you bought that one game and you thought like, ah, this just isn't for me, man. Everyone was
Mm-hmm.
telling me that this was the thing to get, and I'm just not liking it. And it sucks because this is the only thing I have to play right now.
Mm-hmm. That happened to a
Or,
lot of kids back in the day. Like they
yeah.
get that one game for Christmas.
Oh, dude,
You
100%.
know.
Yeah. There's, dude, when I got my Super Nintendo, I got a Super Nintendo with Legend of Zelda Link to the Past, right? I was not
Mm-hmm.
at the age where my brain could comprehend what I had to do. So I got stuck before I even got like my sword. And I'm
Yep.
running around with a little lantern trying to figure out what to do in those first little levels. And I'm like, I hate this. This sucks. I don't want to play this game. I want Super Mario. And I
Right.
got Super Mario and I was fine. But when I went back like years later and I was like, all right, you know what? I've had this game since I got the console. I'm gonna see if I can play through it again. You know, a couple of years later, a little bit smarter, you know, not such a big dum dum. And I absolutely love that game. It's one of my favorite
Mm-hmm.
Zelda games and stuff like that. But I can't imagine that ever happening to anyone who
Mm-hmm.
gets all access or like an Xbox with Game Pass, because it doesn't matter what game you download first. If that game is not for you, dude, you have hundreds of games to choose from. And all you got
Mm-hmm.
to do is spend the bandwidth to stream it, to test it out a little bit, to see if you like it. You don't even have to install it. Like
Right.
it's so cool what Xbox is doing that I think so many people are just like, it doesn't have a game that's like a, you know, like a Spider-Man or a God of War. It's like, who cares? Dude,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. If you don't like God of War and you got God of War, you're out. That's it.
It's true.
Sorry.
That's true. And that's a good way to think of it for sure. I especially like that you called out the play it via cloud on your box before you download it.
Yes.
That is to me one of the best features that is
Oh,
under mentioned,
so good.
for sure. Yep. Let's kind of go with one or two more questions and then wrap up here, Logan. I love this question from Legendary Marvel. By the way, I met Legendary Marvel competing on leaderboards for a game called Hellfront Honeymoon. Another just small game, finding the fun. Love him, dude. He's awesome. He wants to know what our most anticipated games are this year, either known or what we think might happen. I'm going to go first and let you think. I pulled up a list of all the games that are upcoming that we kind of know about kind of for the first half of the year.
Yeah.
Everything from like the Personas coming to Xbox to Jedi Survivor and Resident Evil 4 Remake, Suicide Squad. I'm anticipating quite a few, and I'm really excited for Redfall Starfield, which I talked about. My most anticipated though is Jedi Survivor, bar none. Super
Yes.
excited for Jedi Survivor. That is, I have the
Oh,
$300 edition ordered. My wife was really cool about it, but then I found out she bought something else. I was like, oh, okay. That's why she had to let me off the hook. Um, but
that's
I'm
great.
really excited for Jedi Survivor. Tentatively excited for Suicide Squad just because I love superheroes.
Yeah.
I have not seen the new Avatar at the time of recording because I've been hesitant to make a 3-hour trip. But I
Mm.
love Avatar. I love the first movie. I have the 360 game on my shelf.
Do you
I
really?
really I do. Yeah, yeah. It's right
Oh,
over there.
I need to
Um,
I need to find that.
Yeah, I this past summer I bought a 360 and a bunch of the games that like are not back compat, like all the Bond games, including
So
GoldenEye.
jealous. So
uh,
I really want to get one. I really
yeah,
want to have like a 360 so I can be like, oh yeah, I want to go back and play all these games that are not back compat.
yep, yep. And so I mean, I'm excited for those, but Jedi Survivor bar none, Avatar's in there, Spider-Man 2 is in there, uh, and you know we'll see what happens with some of the stuff we don't know about yet. We'll see, man. What about you?
Yeah, dudes. Oh man, Jedi Survivor. That game is going to be so good. I
Mm-hmm.
cannot wait for that. You know, it's one that I've been wanting for a long. Actually, it's funny too because I feel like I'm the outlier on this. I have been wanting Hogwarts Legacy
Mm-hmm.
so much. Like I don't know if you know this. This may not show up on video,
Okay.
but I have the dark mark on my arm.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like some
Like
nerd stuff. I would never.
that is like dyed in the wool. I love villains in stories, right? I think the better the villain, the better the story. So when I see like really good villains for IPs and stuff like that, I'm like, yes, they get it. You got to be able to relate to the villain, and the villain has to have like an understandable goal, like something
Mm-hmm.
that'd be like, oh yeah, if I got really mad one day, I could see myself becoming the villain.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a good villain. So when I see or just ones that you can really love to hate. Like I love hating villains as well too. But like Hogwarts Legacy is one of those things where I am invested in the wizarding world,
Mm-hmm.
and like
And you love J.K. Rowling, you were telling me.
oh,
Like she's your
fantastic woman.
idol, role
Yeah,
model.
she's
Yeah.
great. Never done
Mm-hmm.
a bad thing in the history
Mm-mm.
of everything. God, that woman. And I use woman, a very loose term there. Um, yeah, the JK stuff aside, because it kills me
Forget it.
that it
Love Harry Potter.
that's the
I don't
thing.
agree with everything that George Lucas did, said, but I don't care what he thinks. I love Jedi.
Yeah,
I love Star Wars.
yeah.
You enjoy your Harry Potter, man. That's what's up.
There's I just for the record, so anyone coming into this who doesn't know me, he goes, I have separated the wizarding world from JK because I don't support her. I don't care what she does with her life. She's got her millions. I can't change that. But I can take a positive narrative and try and take the wizarding world and how accepting it is and
Mhm.
try and use that because a lot of people, I used to listen to some podcasts that followed Harry Potter and stuff like that. And a lot of people who felt minority or felt like there were minorities in the communities were latching on to Harry Potter because it was such a wonderful, accepting world. And to find out
Mhm.
that the author is opposite of that is such a killer because it's like you created something that was so welcoming. But anyway, Hogwarts Legacy, I think, is going to be one of the best games this year. I think it's going to stand out as far as something that will give players a world to live in. And I think they've had a clear vision. They've shown a lot of content on it. I think it's going to be a really solid game. And I think that a lot of people are going to be looking at this and thinking like, that was a really like it's up there as far as games are concerned as this year when it comes to really stellar performances. I don't know if it'll necessarily be like a game of the year contender because I think everyone's kind of got the idea of what that is going to be. It's going to be like Spider-Man 2, it's going to be like Starfield, everyone's got their own thing. But that plus Jedi Survivor, I think are going to be the two games that I'm the most excited for. I don't know if Avatar is coming out this year. I still want to see like if they're actually going to be putting out more stuff about that. But dude, Avatar, I love Avatar. That's one of my favorite movies ever. I pirated that movie when I couldn't afford it, and then I bought a bunch of copies and I saw it later on. Like I put in my due, but when I was
Mhm.
poor and depressed, I 100% went to see it in the theater. And when I saw it in the theater, I was like, oh my God, I have to watch this movie again. And then I spent like 2 weeks watching this movie because it was the only joy I had in my life living in Alaska during the winter when there's nothing
Ugh.
happening. Trust me, it's a fantastic. I'm hoping that Avatar has something that, like we were talking about this off air, right? Like I'm hoping that Avatar is like what Enter the Matrix was for the Matrix
Yeah.
franchise, where it's like a continuation of the story that doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily have to be with like, Jake Sully and stuff and Neytiri. But I do hope that there's at least allusions to the films or alluding to the stuff that happens in those films in the
Mm-hmm.
game, because I would love to have there be a continuation of the story, maybe from a different perspective for that or for that franchise, right? And that it doesn't necessarily detract from the films if you haven't played the game, but it does kind of like flesh out more of that world, because Pandora is such an interesting world in my mind, and I really like the possibility of getting to explore that as well. So those are
Agreed.
kind of mine.
I think it's great, man. And there's so much that I'm looking forward to in this year in general. There's
Yeah.
so much that I look back on in general, and I'm just like, man, gaming's awesome. It's just awesome. It's
Right?
just cool. It is. It
So
is.
much fun.
Well, Logan, I think that is a wonderful place for us to wrap up our first episode together, our first episode of 2023. I hope that big things are ahead. If they're not ahead, I don't care. I'm still having a blast, man. I'm going to enjoy this time podcasting together. I'm looking forward to it. I love the stuff that we've put together, that we're creating. I hope that listeners, I hope you enjoy this content. I hope you enjoy the interviews kind of being their own thing now, separate. I hope you enjoy the video formats and whatnot, and joining me as kind of we learn, or I should say, I learn the video editing stuff. Logan's teaching me a lot, which is cool.
I'm not
Logan,
teaching you anything. What are you talking about? You're crazy. You're learning this on your own. I'm just helping offer like little bits of resources here and there.
He's lying. Guys,
you're a liar.
Let's plug Keelhauled. Let's plug Captain Logun. Let's figure out where people can find you, man.
Oh, that's you're going to be able to find me if you want, man. If you want Sea of Thieves content, then I really like. You probably got your streamers, but if you listen to podcasts and you want to check out Sea of Thieves, I do a weekly show. It comes out every Monday. It's Keelhauled. All you got to do, wherever you're listening to this right now, if you're somewhere, a little private, and you're listening to this podcast and you're thinking about Luke and you want to think about me, I'm okay with that. But just search. I don't know where I'm going either with this. No, search Sea of Thieves podcast. You'll find the official one, and then you'll find Keelhauled right next to the official one. I've got dev interviews coming up this year that I'm looking forward to with some of the folks that do some of the marketing stuff for Sea of Thieves, as far as like when, if you wanted to buy like, I don't know, like a Nerf sword or a statue or something like that. I'm going to be reaching out to them to see if I can get a good interview with the folks that are in charge of all the cool little product placement things that you can buy from Sea of Thieves later on this year. So yeah, just look for that. Outside of that, if you really want to talk to me or tell me like how silly I am for getting a Dark Mark tattoo, or my love for Hogwarts, I'm over on Twitter at CAPT_LOGUN. That's I spend too much time on Twitter. I need help, but I'm there.
And listeners, of course, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram, Hive, all the socials at InsipidGhost. You can find the Xbox Expansion Pass on any podcast service, as well as YouTube, youtube.com/Xbox Expansion Pass. Look forward to an interview with the Sailforth developers and hopefully many more throughout the year. If there's an interview you want to hear, a developer you want on the show, please feel free to email me, insipidghost@gmail.com. And as always, my DMs are open. There you go, man. Well, Logan, that's it. That's a wrap. Take care, everybody.